Well, I think in early recovery, when you're trying to reestablish trust, um, spontaneity is not the main focus. Trust is, and trust gets rebuilt by some structure. If you say you're going to an AA meeting, you actually go, whether you feel like it or not. If I say I'm going to, whatever it is, do the groceries, or it's rebuilding some structure that can be counted on, because in addiction, life becomes very chaotic, and you can't count on having, whether it's dinner at a certain time or meeting up with friends. There's a lot of what for us was like white lies. Don't, not feeling like going to be with friends in the chaos of addiction. So there's the white lie, not whatever comes up. Oh, I was held up on the phone with my mom, and it's completely, it's a lot.
And a quick example is a client this week who had an appointment with a medical doctor, but he's also about 10 days sober from placing bets from a gambling addiction. And he had this appointment with the medical doctor, and he quickly forwarded the appointment um, reservation or confirmation to his wife so she would know where he was, because he was worried she would think that he was at the casino or gambling or placing bets. And then we had this long conversation with the trust and whether or not she needs that, and should he talk to her about whether or not she needs that level of scrutiny. Anyway, continue.
So I think initially too that the structure is a lot about having it coincides a lot with create your community, that in early sobriety your activities are going to be with people that are safe. And Bill and I always enjoy going out to nice, like fine dining and that. Well, for the first 2 years, I think I saw every coffee shop in Philadelphia. And I had never been to coffee shop. I'm not a coffee drinker. I'm a tea drinker. I just say it wasn't my thing. And so our structure looked very different early on. And Bill would talk about having too much idle time. And so we were overbooking ourselves initially. But I think it was, personally for me, it was good because I knew he was where he said he was. There were the days of, oh, I'm going Christmas shopping and coming across his bicycle locked up at a bar by accident. Those days were gone. And I was never the type of person that actually checked up on him. But life has a way of informing you whether you go looking or not. And part of it was we didn't know how to be together. And the activities gave us a way, whether we signed up for playing tennis in a tennis league, or like I keep mentioning the writers group, that was a big part. We met every 2 weeks and there was a lot of structure to that. And we participated in the Fringe Festival. So those activities gave us a way to be together without necessarily having to engage in all the emotional wrangling that we weren't ready to deal with. But by the same token, we weren't apart. I was also busy writing, starting to write my first book. And I think one of the important things that we did is I actually rented space outside the home so that I had a writing studio. And I often think that probably was also a big part in saving our relationship, because it gave me a safe space. It also forced me out of the home. So it gave us a way to disengage. And yet I was doing something that was purposeful. I was writing this book. I think as we moved through and started doing more, like the mechanics of our life started falling into place, from the chaos and no structure to, oh, we're working out again, we have friends again, we have commitments. It started evolving to, we needed to structure time for self-care and spirituality and independent time. So we went through a phase where the studio was also time that Bill knew he had the home to himself. And I would be gone. And then he intentionally took a course that was 2 nights a week so that I would have time in the home by myself. And that was very intentional. It wasn't just by accident.
Right.
Answer.
So the way it's transgressed into community, which again began with structure and grew from that, is I joined the Rotary Club in Philadelphia, and I was a board member. I ran their foundation for a couple of years. So I took on responsibilities that were similar to the ones that I had in my career. So it was me, I guess, regaining the confidence and the knowledge that I can do this stuff.
As part of my progress, I had to deal a lot with anger. I went through a lot of resentment, and the resentment was at this disease that took over our lives. I wasn't angry at Bill, but I was angry at the disease. And then I had cancer, and I was angry at my body because I'd always taken care of myself, and here I end up with cancer. And the structure actually was very useful for me because it forced us to get involved with other people, and it forced us. It was a way to stop focusing on my anger and focus on positive. And positive is not the right word because I've never been a really negative person, but it gave me a place to put that energy um, into a broader community. And I didn't want to spend all of our time in recovery, AA, Al-Anon. So knowing that, oh, there was the writers group on Thursday nights, and knowing that on Saturday I was playing tennis with Janet, instead of it all being spontaneous, was really important in managing my anger.
Um, plan date night, or is spontaneity better? Schedule sex, like Borat says, it's sexy time, or be spontaneous.
Well, yesterday we said, let's go out for lunch. It's a sunny day. Let's get out of the house. Let's have a nice lunch downtown. Spontaneously. And we consciously are doing more of that.
But that role of structured or scheduling sex, right, versus spontaneity, because again, you guys are very fortunate in that you don't have young kids running around. Like for a lot of couples, their lifestyle is such that if they don't structure it, they're going to have soccer or they're going to have something else. Like they're not going to have the time. And so I think part of, helping couples recognize that just because you schedule something, the reality is like, I don't know how I'm going to feel Saturday at 2 or at 8 o'clock at night, right? But if you don't structure the time, you're not going to have it. So what I always sort of say to a couple is structure, schedule sex, sexy time, and then see in that moment how you feel. What would be fun, what would be connecting, what would be playful, what's one small thing you could say yes to, and really helping people sort of create the conditions, right, where the turn on is going to be part of the reflex. And so I think for a lot of couples, even though culturally we don't want to think about scheduling sex, and I'm like, but you scheduled your vacation and you don't enjoy that any less. So it's about mindset in so many ways. And so helping couples see the positive aspects of scheduled sex. And again, that doesn't mean we know what's going to happen because you can't know until you're there.